Hey guys, Joyce and Anthony aka JJ. I'm just going to open up a new blend file. Today we are building a house together. That is challenge number 20 with a mixture of 3D meshes and the grease pencil. I just turned on the X and Y axis out of habit. Now I'm going to object mode and then pressing Shift A to add a cube. And I'm scaling it on the X axis by pressing S then X, because I want it to be more of a rectangle than a square. I'm going to add another square. This is my reference image. So I want the square to be like, kind of like, I guess like the dining room. Would that be the dining room? It's kind of hard for me to see the squares. I'm going to change it from material preview mode to solid mode. I want to add a roof. To do that, Shift A. This time I'm going to add a plane, and I'm just pressing G to grab it and then rotating it on the X axis. Actually, no, not the X axis, the Y axis. And again, the shortcut to rotate is pressing R on your keyboard. This is the roof for the front part of the house. I think that looks good. And I'm going to add a plane to the other side. I'm selecting it, then pressing Shift D to duplicate it. And then I'm going to rotate it on the Z axis. And to do that, R and then Z. Okay, I want to see how this looks from the top. So I'm pressing I've called it the squiggly line for all this time, but it's actually called the tilde. I press that button and I'm able to change the view. You're going to see me do that a lot in this video. And that is for the Mac. I think that looks good. And I'm going to make my bigger roof. So I'm selecting both planes, clicking Shift D to duplicate it. And then G to grab it, and I need it to be the other side. So now I'm pressing R to rotate it on the Z axis. I'm pressing R then Z. Now I need to scale it. So I'm pressing S to scale, and then I want that to be along the X axis. I just scaled the front room, the square. I'm just trying to figure out how I want it. I think that's good for now. I need to adjust the smaller roof. Just scaling it on the Y axis. That looks good. But the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I want to extrude it. I want the roof to be thicker. So I have the face selected and I'm extruding it along the X axis. So I'm selecting it, then dragging it a little bit to, yeah, that's good. I want to close the roof. So now I'm going back to edit mode, and there's this option to add an interactive, well, it's a cone, but I'm changing the vertices from, I believe the default is 32 to 3. I'm gonna scale it to close the gaps. I'm going to repeat that process on the big roof. And as I'm doing it, I'm like, instead of doing 2 triangles, why don't I, well, first I need to fix the top of this because it's at an angle. Why don't I just adjust this and then just extrude the triangle out so I don't have to do 2 separate triangles. In edit mode, I have the point selected and I'm just pressing G and then X to move it along the X axis. And now I'm clicking the face to extrude it along the Z axis. My triangle is a little crooked, but the more I look at this, the more I'm just gonna delete or erase these, remove these planes. That's the right word. Remove the plane and then just scale this up, and this will be my new roof. I'm gonna change this to the wireframe mode, see if that gives me a better view. Okay. When I was extruding, I accidentally made an additional cut, which I did not mean to do. So I'm just gonna scale this. I need to select the bottom two. I'm gonna go back to solid mode, and with my roof selected, I'm just moving it up. Okay, my roof is still crooked. I need to change that. In edit mode, I have the line selected. Okay. And now I am going to grab it along the Z axis. Off camera, I did the same process with the smaller roof to even it out because it was crooked. Now it's time to draw on my house with the grease pencil. I'm making sure I have the stroke selected, going from object mode to draw mode. And when you click stroke, the default is 0.150, and I'm going to change that in a second, but I'm going to show you why I'm going to change it. See right here, when I draw, it looks like I'm drawing right on the surface, but if you move around, it's actually far apart. The line is far from the surface. So I'm gonna adjust that number to something smaller. When I draw, my lines are kind of crooked. If you hold down Shift as you're drawing, that will help smooth out your lines. I'm just repeating that process throughout my house. Throughout inking, I alternate between freehand, and sometimes I go to the drawing tools and select the line. Once you have the drawing tool where you want it, the line drawing tool, you press enter to confirm it. So yeah, I'm just repeating this over and over again. And I have the surface selected in front view at the top. And I don't like this window. I'm gonna redraw it. Okay, I like the window like that. But yeah, it's a bit repetitive, so I just fast forward to this part where I'm going to draw the door. I want to move the door to the left. So in edit mode, I'm just selecting it, then pressing G and then X. I want to draw a window right by the door, then 2 more windows on the roof. Before I do that, I am going to make a border around the door because I thought it looked kind of boring. I wanted to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm just selecting the door, then I press Shift D, and then I scaled it just to be slightly bigger than the original door. And now I'm drawing the windows on the roof. Okay, I just repeated that process, and I just drew another window, and then at the top of all the windows I drew a triangle. Why? I don't know. I thought it looked good. Now it's time to color my house. This gray is so bland. I'm going to select I'm gonna select my original square, and then in the materials tab, I'm gonna select new and pick like a, actually I'm gonna go to the rendered view and then pick a brownish color. I want the front part of the house to be the same color, so I'm selecting it, then pressing the little world, and then pressing the material. Okay, for the roof, I want it to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to press new and select a new base color. Onto the windows, I'm selecting the stroke, and then I need to go from object mode to draw mode. I'm going to select the fill, and then in the materials I'm going to click the plus to add a new color. I'm going to make this just a fill, and I'm going to change it to gradient. I'm going to make it like 2 different blues. I'm gonna adjust the bottom blue. Okay, I'll keep it gradient. I want to see more of a gradient. That's why I'm playing around with the colors. Okay, and I just repeated that process with all the windows. And now I am with a textured brush and I'm coloring in the little triangles. And now to the door. I'm gonna make the door like a tannish color. Technically we're done right now, but I wanted to add a walkway to the door. If you see at the top, I changed the stroke placement to origin and the drawing plane to top. To color the walkway, I changed it from origin to 3D cursor. I put the 3D cursor kind of where the door is, but I kept the drawing plane still at top. And right now I'm using a textured wet brush. As I'm drawing, I don't like it, but I'm gonna keep doing it. And a couple minutes later, I actually delete this and I just go with the default inking pen and I redraw the road. Or I'm sorry, not the road, the walkway to the door. As that's done, I want to add some more color to it. So I added a new layer, a new masking layer. And I am coloring in the road, making it another, why do I keep saying the road? The walkway. And again, like the textured brushes, they're kind of thick. And now I'm going to add some grass. I'm going to add like, yeah, it's almost some grass by the door and the front window. For the grass, I have stroke selected and the drawing plane is front. Now that that's done, I went back and like I said previously, I deleted the textured walkway up, and right now I'm just using the ink pen and I have the 3D cursor as the stroke placement and the drawing plane is the top. Doing this house was very humbling. This took me a lot longer than I thought. It just showed I need to practice more with 3D meshes. but hopefully you followed along and completed the house. Make sure you save this blend file because we will be using this house a couple more days. This is Joyce-Anne Anthony, aka JJ. See you tomorrow.